Welcome back to my channel. This is Jacqueline Edwards, and as always, I am delighted you are here. So, this week, I want to continue the conversation we've been having around the blessing of the Lord. That in Genesis, when He says, I bless you to be fruitful, to multiply, and replenish the earth. So, I have been camping around the blessing to be fruitful. And I've been really explaining what that means. That it's important for us to know who we are, to know how God created us. And I use the analogy of the mangoes. There's a little girl growing up in Jamaica around all these fruits. And I use the mangoes in particular because that's my favorite. But even with the mangoes, there's so many different textures, there's so many different tastes. And so it's important that as we identify who we are, that we understand how God created us. And here is why it's important. We are navigating this world. This world wasn't created for us to have time to reflect, to have time to really see who God created us to be. This world is moving so fast, it is distracting, and that is strategic, right? But the reason why Jesus came is for us to really come back to ourselves, come back to taking time to reflect over our lives, to find these different qualities, to find these different characteristics, to find our values, to find our gifts, and to find our talents within us. And when we do that, we fall in love with Jesus even more. When we find out, when we reflect and we find these different attributes about ourselves, we have no choice but to fall in love with Jesus, to really appreciate Jesus, right? So, as I said, this world was not built, it was not created for us to come to this knowledge and understanding. Now, here is the tricky part. For persons like myself who has gone through a lot of trauma stemming from childhood all the way up to adulthood, it's so difficult. It becomes more challenging for us to understand and come into this wisdom and knowledge. It really is. It really is. But I'm going to show you how you can spend some time, write down some things, write down your characteristics, write down what's important to you. Write down, you will understand what's important to you. And I'm going to show you practical ways how you can come into that knowledge, right? So as I said, I have been through a lot in my life, and that's why I wrote my memoir. It's out there on Amazon and in Barnes and Noble. The title is Mumzai, Trapped in the Mind of a Child. It's Mumzai, Trapped in the Mind of a Child. Now, in writing my own story, I get to see, I get to capture the things that are important to me. I get to capture and see why I struggled the way I did. And one of those things I capture is the importance of communication. I love to talk. I love to talk and work through things, right? So you can really see in my book how I struggled because there's so much I want to express, but I didn't have anyone to talk to. And that is a result of how I started writing my book. It was a way of getting my thoughts and emotions out of my body. So, but now, fast forwarding back, I can see the different things I value, as I said, namely communication. I can also identify that I am a woman of my word. So if I tell you something, I will do it. And so that really manifests for me when I became a hairstylist in my 30s. I became a hairstylist, and one of the things my clients really appreciated about me was the fact that if I told them to come at 10, give and take 5 minutes, most times I was on time. Most times I was on time. I started out in salons where other stylists had piles of people waiting, lined up waiting. And I used to look at that and go, wow, they have a lot of clients. But as over time, I started to realize That's not a way to do business. If I tell somebody 10 o'clock, I mean 10 o'clock. I'm striving, I'm working, and I'm my chatters off. But I mean 10 o'clock. If I tell you something, I really strive to do that. But the thing is, it wasn't just about sticking to time. The thing that I recognized and I captured in those moments was the peace it gave me. It's the peace of seeing my client walk through the door, seeing that my chair was empty. It was the peace of knowing that if I was running late, I can text my client and say, hey, just heads up, I'm running late, right? So when they come, they're not frustrated. They can give me that grace that I gave them the heads up that I was running late. So I captured peace, 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 peace. I captured peace in recognizing that I valued time. I recognized in doing that, I captured peace. So now I'm going to share with you a more practical story. In my last video, I shared that I'll be going back to school for my master's in pastoral studies and communication, right? And I shared that with you, but I want to tell you that that university that I got accepted to wasn't my first. I applied to a historical black university at the beginning of this year. And when I applied, I was so excited. I said, oh my God, I want to see what it's like to attend a historical black university. I was even thinking about the tailgate parties. I love drums and I love music and things and the big horns and stuff like that. So I was really like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Anyway, I shared the story how, I applied for the university not knowing. But anyway, go back and listen to my other stories. But in applying to this university, I was really excited to just finally have like a different experience, being in more like a historical black community, to experience what that is, right? So I filled out the application, did everything, and do you know that the way how it was handled, they were so unprofessional. It took me months and months for them just to even get all the documents because things were just out of order, right? And I realized I captured the feeling of feeling stressed. And I said, this is not how this is supposed to be. And so I got so frustrated. I sent an email to that organization, to the department, and I really just pinpointed and I said how disappointed I was in how they handled the application process, right? And it was important for me to express myself because I am learning how to express myself, how to say, hey, I don't like how this is happening. This is not how it's supposed to be. In 2 days, I got an acceptance letter. 2 days after I sent that email, I got an acceptance letter. Now, I'll tell you this, the joy I felt just seeing that God has just really put me on the next level to go and pursue my master's. The joy I felt just seeing that He has given me that GPA I needed to even qualify. The joy I felt to be going to a historical black university. Oh, it was overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. And as everything kind of faded and I got a little chance to really soak it in, I started to come to my senses. And I started to think about the process. How did I get this acceptance letter? I started to think about the journey. I started to think about how frustrated it made me feel. I started to think of the lack of communication and the unprofessionalism. Just so much I was thinking about. And I said, you know what, God? I don't think I want to accept this. And when I looked at the letter, they gave me 24 hours to respond. I prayed about it. And in that moment, it wasn't about the school. It wasn't about the school. It was what I knew about me. It was what I knew about me, that I love communication. I like to handle things in a professional way. And I like to feel peaceful. This is where I have arrived. This is where I've arrived. from a life of chaos, a life of trauma, to come in to understand and live in a place of peace and tranquility. And I said, Lord, this is going to be between me and you. In in declining this letter, in declining my admission, in declining this acceptance letter, I am going to communicate to you that I understand who I am and how you have created me. And in 24 hours, I sent it back and I said, I declined the offer. Thank you so much, but I will keep this for future. I hope you will keep me in mind for for future reference, right? And I declined it. I had no idea where I was going. I had no other plans, no other university in mind, nothing. But the one thing I knew was that God gave me a 3.0 at the end of my undergrad. And I said, that's what I need to know. I just need to give time. Couple months fast forwarding, I was having a conversation with a couple. I was having dinner with them, and over dinner we were talking, and the subject of the university came up, and I was telling them how I declined the offer, right? Of course, they were really excited for me because they understood my journey of what it took for me to get here and how I'm passionate about learning and education, right? So they were really shocked that I turned the offer down. And they made the suggestion of this other university. And the key word the gentleman said to me is, they operate in excellence. Oof. That was the key word I needed to hear. They operate in excellence. Excellence. That day I went home and I researched, I looked into everything, I researched, I sent email, they responded within time frame, reasonable time frame. Application was up, they responded reasonable. I mean, everything has been, peaceful. And that's what it did. I captured the peace. I captured the peace. Long before I knew I was accepted, the process itself was peaceful. It was peaceful. And I said, Lord, this is what I need. This is what I need. This is in line with my values. It's in line with my values. And later on, I did get accepted to the university. The moral of the story is, it's important for us to know our characteristics, our values, how God created us, so we can communicate back to God and say, God, I thank you for how you have created me. I can operate in this for the rest of my life. Now, not saying that your life will be perfect. My life is far from perfect. But what I know about myself, no one can take from me. What I know about how God has created me, no one can take from me. I know way too much about me right now that I can handle life. I can handle life. I can communicate back with God every single day and say thank you. Because every single day I get to smile. Every single day I get to be who I am. Like that mango, I get to be. I get to be sweet. I get to be sweet. I get to be of value to others. And I understand my own value. So I pray that this message bless you. I pray that you will continue to seek and spend time with God and let Him reveal to you the unique way in how He has created you. May you be blessed. Have a blessed week. Until next time. Take care.